Terrifying discovery in ancient tomb leaves. Scientists speechless. The mystery remains unsolved. You've probably heard stories about ancient tombs before, but have you ever stopped to wonder what might truly be resting beneath that layer of earth? A place where time seems to have frozen, yet it hides spine-chilling secrets that have left even seasoned scientists speechless? Welcome to Ancient History, the channel where thousand-year-old mysteries come to light, frame by frame. Today, we're about to open a long-forgotten chapter of the past and step into the eerie world of ancient tombs, where every stone, every coffin, carries a chilling tale. You think mummies just lie there silently? Well, yes, they do lie still, but the expressions on their faces look like they're screaming something at us. Some have wide-open eyes filled with terror. Some coffins contain objects that, to this day, scientists still can't confidently identify. And at some point, you just might find yourself saying, "No way!" just like the experts did when they first laid eyes on these artifacts. Is this all just coincidence? Or could it be evidence that a once highly advanced civilization was buried and forgotten forever? If you're someone who thrives on curiosity, who loves diving into stories that are both strange and a little unsettling, rest assured, you've come to the right place. Get ready, because today's journey will take you from one surprise to the next. So, are you ready? If you are, let's dive into our very first tomb right now. Mysterious remains found in a 4,000-year-old waterlogged coffin. Imagine one fine day you're digging a pond on a golf course and suddenly you hit a prehistoric coffin. How would you react? Sounds like a joke, right? But no, this actually happened at a regular golf course in England, not in an Indiana Jones movie. The story begins on September 10, 2021, when historic England revealed details about a remarkable discovery that shocked archaeologists and history enthusiasts alike, a 4,000-year-old coffin uncovered 3 years earlier. Back in July 2018, Dr. Hugh Wilmot was supervising an excavation of an Anglo-Saxon burial site in Lincolnshire, northeastern England, when a local conservation officer told him about a potentially more interesting find. At Tetney Golf Club, a local golf course, workers using a giant excavator to dig a small pond unexpectedly uncovered a rare prehistoric coffin containing the skeleton of a man. Specifically, the workers digging the pond at Tetney Golf Club, England, stumbled upon a 4,000-year-old waterlogged coffin holding the remains of a man whom archaeologists identified as someone of high social status. When Dr. Wilmot, an archaeologist and senior lecturer in historical European archaeology at the University of Sheffield, UK, arrived at the golf course the next day, he encountered what he described as an absolute mess. About 12 feet underground, the team found a waterlogged burial site and an exposed coffin broken into many pieces. Dr. Wilmot said he quickly realized that he and his team would have to act fast to carry out a rescue and recovery operation to prevent further damage to the coffin. That summer was extremely hot. Once exposed to air, the coffin wood would deteriorate very quickly. The coffin's 4,000-year lifespan suddenly boiled down to just days, he explained. The wooden coffin measured about 10 feet by 3 feet. Inside lay the skeleton of a man, buried alongside an axe. Archaeologists determined that the coffin was hollowed out from an oak tree trunk. The deceased was laid on a bed of cypress or yew leaves before being sealed with the remaining part of the oak trunk. These burial customs were reserved for high-ranking individuals during the Bronze Age. Dr. Hugh Wilmot, leading the research team, explained, "The organic materials were well preserved due to the wet, oxygen-free conditions inside the hollow tree trunk. This could provide us insights into the types of trees selected to cushion the body, and even the time of year this man was buried." This coffin is one of about 65 known from England. After spending a year in cold storage, it was transferred to the York Archaeological Trust for further preservation. Alongside the remains was a perfectly preserved axe with a stone head and wooden handle. When archaeologists saw this axe inside the 4,000-year-old coffin, they were stunned. They could hardly believe what they were looking at. The axe is extremely rare, especially because its wooden handle survived 4,000 years underground. It's one of only 12 such axes known in England, and archaeologists believe it was more a symbol of power than a practical tool. To explain why the coffin was waterlogged yet still so well preserved, experts said that rising sea levels and coastal flooding eventually covered the grave and burial mound with a thick layer of sediment. Coupled with the undeniable durability of oak wood, This helped preserve the coffin. The ancient coffin and axe were placed in temporary cold storage to stabilize them, while archaeologists gathered as much information as possible before conservation work began, a process that might slightly alter their appearance. Dr. Wilmot added that the burial shows the man was an important figure in his community. To make a wooden coffin this heavy is a complex task. The gravel mound covering the grave required many people's effort, not just family members, and the axe was very likely a ceremonial object, a symbol of authority. Historic England invested nearly $70,000, about $97,000 USD, in the conservation effort. The coffin was transported to the York Archaeological Trust, where preservation is expected to take another 2 years due to its large size and weight. Ian Panter, head of the York Archaeological Trust, said conservators are still deciding whether to try to piece the coffin parts back together. He noted one end of the coffin is about 8 feet long and weighs half a ton. The entire coffin measures approximately 10 feet long and 3 feet wide. The 4,000-year-old coffin and the axe will eventually be displayed at the Collection, an art and archaeology museum in Lincolnshire, not far from the golf course. The man's remaining bones will be carefully cared for, but likely won't be displayed. His bones reveal he was about 5 feet 7 inches tall, quite tall for that era, and probably died in his late 30s or early 40s. The time and effort invested in his burial indicate a society with a hierarchy focused on certain individuals. What do you think? Isn't this a fascinating discovery? A 6 feet 4 inches tall puppet in an ancient Chinese tomb baffles experts. In December 1978, according to the Chinese lunar calendar, something unusual happened in Lixi, Shandong Province, China. People from all over suddenly flocked to the area, turning the once quiet village into a bustling hub. It turned out that local villagers had accidentally discovered 2 ancient tombs while digging soil in their fields. Upon hearing the news, the village chief contacted the relevant authorities, and a team of archaeologists rushed to the site. During the excavation, the experts found tomb number 2 to be quite extraordinary. Unlike typical stone tombs, this was a wooden tomb with a heavy coffin. Everyone speculated about who might be buried inside. To everyone's surprise, the occupant of this tomb was actually a life-sized puppet. Later excavations uncovered several artifacts made of bronze, lacquer, iron, and jade within the tomb. After thorough examination, experts concluded that this burial site dated back to the Middle to late Western Han Dynasty. Once the excavation was complete, the archaeological team carefully transported the puppet to a research institute for detailed measurement and study. The puppet stands 6 feet 4 inches tall, taller than an average person, and is remarkably well preserved. Only the wooden panel on its stomach showed slight decay, but this did not affect the overall quality. The puppet was constructed from 13 wooden strips forming the torso and limbs. Its components closely mimic human bones. The movable joints are connected using traditional mortise and tenon techniques, a fundamental woodworking method allowing the puppet to perform various motions. The puppet's head was carved from a single piece of wood. Features such as the ears, eyes, mouth, and nose were intricately carved with lifelike detail. Interestingly, the head even has a shallow groove measuring about 0.8 inches deep and 0.2 inches wide, running along the hairline. Experts speculate that it may originally have been fitted with real hair. Some archaeologists believe these puppets were even dressed in clothing when buried. But what exactly was this large puppet used for? That remains a difficult question to answer. After careful analysis, experts have proposed several theories. The first theory suggests the puppet served as a commemorative object. The tomb's occupant may have been a highly skilled puppeteer during that era. To honor his contributions, the family might have created this giant puppet as a funerary companion for the afterlife. However, questions arose because no strings were found on the puppet, which seems contradictory for a puppet prop. Some argue that the absence of strings makes sense since they might have tangled during transport, complicating burial. The second theory proposes that the puppet functioned as a tomb guardian. Because its joints are movable, archaeologists cannot determine its original posture. But at 6 feet 4 inches tall, it resembles a strong, tall human figure and could have symbolized a protector of the tomb's occupant. Still, using a puppet as a tomb guardian is unprecedented, so this hypothesis requires further research. The third theory holds that the puppet was part of burial customs. After all, puppets were used in many different occasions. Experts believe such a large puppet could have been a tool in local rituals at the time, possibly used in exorcism ceremonies and then buried with the deceased. Yet how such a large puppet could have been performed with remains another puzzle, one that continues to intrigue experts. Though each theory has merit, the puppet's true purpose remains an unsolved mystery. Nonetheless, the excavation of this puppet has provided valuable insights into the life, development, and evolution of puppet art in ancient China. The remains of a woman and a massive treasure of gold in an ancient Siberian king's tomb. In the Valley of the Kings, not in Egypt as we usually hear, but in the Valley of the Kings of the ancient Scythians, deep within Siberian territory, archaeologists have just discovered an elaborately constructed tomb of a Scythian king, along with numerous precious artifacts such as gold, silver, and jewelry. What astonished scientists the most was the presence of a young woman buried beside the king. This woman was not only laid to rest next to the king's body, but was also covered with countless gold and silver treasures and jewelry, clear signs that she was no ordinary person. The burial location and the high-quality grave goods all reveal that she once held a very high status, possibly the king's official wife or his most favored consort. However, the strange part is that no one knows why she died. While the king's skeletal analysis showed he died of prostate cancer, a natural death in ancient times, the woman's remains showed no clear signs of cause of death. It was a sudden death with no evidence of violence or illness. Archaeologists suspect she may have been poisoned as part of an ancient funeral ritual to accompany the king into the afterlife. This chilling suspicion grew stronger when the research team discovered as many as 35 other sets of remains within the tomb area, believed to be the king's entourage. Among them were men, women, children, and even 14 horses, a formation resembling a royal palace retinue. All this evidence perfectly matches the records of the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, who described the Scythian burial ritual. When a king died, all loyal servants, including family members, slaves, and horses, were sacrificed to accompany their master. Did the young woman know her fate in advance? Or was she an unwilling victim of the brutal ritual of an ancient culture that once ruled the Asian steppes? That question remains unanswered. But with every layer of earth removed, with every artifact uncovered, we get closer to the truth, though that truth can sometimes send shivers down our spines, my friends. The forgotten mummy of an Egyptian princess, after 4,000 years. Amid the endless golden sands of the Egyptian desert, once the cradle of one of the greatest civilizations in human history, a door to the past has been opened, revealing the secret of a woman who lived more than 4,000 years ago. The owner of the recently excavated tomb is neither a pharaoh nor a powerful priest, but a woman named Eerie, the daughter of a wealthy and influential governor in Asyut, a fertile province along the Nile River during Egypt's Middle Kingdom period. The most remarkable thing is that her mummy was carefully buried inside two nested coffins, a rare structure almost never found intact in excavations from that era. According to the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, Eerie's tomb dates back to the Middle Kingdom, spanning approximately from 2030 BCE to 1640 BCE. More precisely, during the reign of Pharaoh Senwosret I, who ruled from 1961 to 1917 BCE. This means that everything found in the tomb, from small statues and intricately carved ancient texts to Eerie's very body, has survived over 4 millennia with astonishing preservation. What impressed archaeologists the most was Eerie's burial structure. She was placed inside 2 wooden coffins, the outer coffin measuring about 8.5 feet long and the inner coffin about 7.5 feet long. Both were exquisitely crafted and inscribed with ancient theological texts, passages meant to guide the soul of the deceased on its journey to the afterlife. According to Professor Kathleen Cooney, an expert on ancient Egyptian art and architecture at UCLA, this discovery is extremely valuable. She noted that finding 2 intact coffins from the Middle Kingdom is so rare that it's almost a miracle in modern Egyptology. The meticulously carved inscriptions on the coffins are not just religious symbols, but also vital clues helping scientists identify Eerie. Historical records indicate she was the daughter of Jefahapi, the governor of the strategic and resource-rich Asyut region, a key part of ancient Egypt's administrative system. From this, it can be inferred that Eerie was not only a woman of high status, but also received the most elaborate funeral rites reserved for the nobility. However, time has not completely spared her tomb. Evidence at the site shows that it was once looted. Fortunately, her mummy remains relatively well preserved, allowing experts to analyze her health and lifestyle more deeply. Examination revealed she died around the age of 40, a relatively advanced age for a woman of that era, and had a congenital foot deformity that likely made walking difficult throughout her life. Besides the coffins, archaeologists also discovered several small wooden statues buried with her. One of these might be a miniature portrait of Eerie herself, showing soft facial features and a dignified expression that reflects the respect she commanded during her lifetime. According to Associate Professor Caroline Arbuckle from the University of Saskatchewan, studying the inscriptions on the coffins not only sheds light on Eerie's life, but also opens a deeper understanding of the spiritual beliefs and death concepts of ancient Egyptians. For them, death was not an end, but the beginning of a new journey in the afterlife. Therefore, the items buried with the dead were not merely possessions or symbols of power, but tools to help them survive and navigate the eternal realm. Eerie's tomb, with its two finely crafted coffins and detailed spiritual texts, stands as a perfect testament to that belief. Though thousands of years have passed, the sands of time have not completely erased the traces of a woman who once lived, loved, and existed with a unique status in ancient Egypt. Thanks to the hands of archaeologists, Eerie's story is told once again, not buried beneath layers of dust, but brought to life through every character, every statue, and every fascinating detail of an immortal civilization. Impressive, isn't it? The grim treasures in 18 ancient tombs in Ukraine. Recently, a shocking discovery was announced from southern Ukraine, a place holding ancient secrets of the Scythians, a legendary warrior tribe that once struck fear across the ancient world. From 18 ancient tombs scattered across 14 different sites, archaeologists uncovered 45 leather samples, burial items that seemed like ordinary relics. But no, 2 of these samples stunned the research team. They weren't animal hides, they were human skin. Yes, you read that right. A quiver and an arrow case, common warrior gear, were made from human flesh. Strangely, this discovery eerily matches the accounts recorded over 2,000 years ago by the Greek historian Herodotus. This famous historian described how the Scythians, skilled horse warriors, had a practice of flaying the scalps of their enemies and using that skin to decorate bridles or even make weapon cases. Feeling goosebumps yet? Imagine a quiver wrapped in human skin, possibly the skin of a defeated enemy's hand or scalp. These items were not merely weapons or trophies, they were symbols of honor, affirming the warrior's status before the entire community. The research team confirmed the materials through protein analysis, a modern technique that identifies the origin of leather based on remaining biological markers. Of the 45 samples collected, 43 were from familiar animals like sheep, goats, horses, and cattle. Only 2 samples came from humans, but that was enough to completely overturn old assumptions about Scythian culture. So why use human skin? Were they simply savage, or is there something deeper behind it? Although there is no conclusive evidence for the exact purpose, according to Herodotus, the use of human skin was no accident. It was part of a ritual honoring victory, a form of cold-blooded but strict warrior faith. The Scythians, who flourished from around 800 BCE to 300 CE, were one of the most prominent nomadic civilizations of the Eurasian steppes. Though notorious for their fierce, brutal nature and superior fighting skills, they were also highly skilled artisans, especially in gold craftsmanship and animal husbandry. We are talking about a complex culture, not merely crude warriors. They had advanced leatherworking techniques, sophisticated burial mounds, and even a unique philosophy that exalted personal strength and courage, sometimes pushing beyond the moral boundaries of the modern world. Have you ever imagined, amid the vast steppes, a Scythian warrior galloping on horseback, a quiver slung over his shoulder? Not made from wild animals, but from a defeated foe? This is not only a haunting image, but living proof that the past holds dark corners we are not always ready to face. So, we've just journeyed together through these haunting ancient tombs, where every layer of earth, every artifact seems to whisper secrets from a distant past. From mummies with expressions of pain to relics far beyond the understanding of their time, they all seem to pose one big question. Is history hiding a chapter that's never been written? What do you think? Did anything give you chills? Or do you have your own theories about these lost civilizations? Don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below, because maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one to spark a new path towards solving these unsolved mysteries. If you found this video fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next thrilling stories from ancient history. There are so many strange things still waiting to be uncovered, and I'm sure you won't want to miss them. Thanks for joining me on today's journey. See you in the next videos.